Satanica Sacra Tenebris. Demonically beloved, we are gathered here today in the spirit of Lupercalia, a celebration of feasting, fornication, and free will, and to bear witness to the world's first vegan sacrifice. No, we are not sacrificing vegans. They are far too bland and stringy. No, my friends, today we shall slaughter an effigy of superstition upon the altar of reason. We will destroy a symbol of theocracy and devour its delicious brains. And here to prepare the ritual for us is everyone's favorite culinary occultist, the Satanic Chef. Over to you!
Hi guys, welcome to me, the Satanic Chef, teaching you guys how to make a vegan sacrificial lamb. First things first, let's take our candle and light this nice Bible on fire. Is it burning yet? It smells like it's burning. You know what? It's burning. So let's get things started. I have here the Meatless Farm Co. Lovingly Made with Plants. So right now we have this wonderful vegan meat, which I am going to open up. I'm going to take it out. And I'm just going to smash it right here on this cutting board, like so. As you can see, this has been sitting on my cutting board for about 1 minute exactly. So, while we get started, let's light a little bit more of a Bible fire. Don't worry, the smell of this candle will definitely offset the smell of this Bible. It happens to be from Home Goods. So, I'm going to take my bowl. I'm going to take my vegan meat and just plop it right in the bowl. We're going to pretend like this happens to be some kind of lamb. Just going to add a little bit of salt to this. I'm just going to move it in, rub it around with my hands. Plop that right in my cutting board. Take my bowl and I'm gonna kind of make a loin like I would with like a regular lamb loin. So I'm essentially making a log. So I have now tied my lamb loin, my vegan lamb loin, and I'm just gonna kind of go around as is. Just kind of pretend like this is a real lamb loin. Just sort of tie it together like I would, like a piece of meat. That way it sticks together when I go do the little searing thing. Now that that's done, we're going to start searing our meat. And you're probably noticing right in front of me, I have this container which says pork rub. Well, that happens to be brown sugar, cayenne pepper, chili pepper, all sorts of delicious flavors. And I think it will really bring out the flavor of this sacrificial lamb. So now that I've tied this off, I'll cut it. And we're going to turn on our little induction burner right now and add a little bit of olive oil.
Excellent. Beautiful work, my brother. A sacrifice worthy of the gods. If there were any. Spoiler, there are not. And now, let the ritual begin!
So we're going to take our spice rub, just season the top and the bottom with our sacrificial vegan lamb. Going to write a little good luck note for setting this Bible on fire. It's a vintage Bible. And we're just going to place our little vegan lamb right in here. And I'm just going to give this a nice sear on each side. Gonna give it a little bit of smoke. That's right, you want to smoke your meat. And we're just going to let that sit in there until it cooks fully for about a couple minutes. Alright guys, it's now been a couple minutes and our vegan lamb is absolutely cooked all the way through. Ouch. That is fucking hot as shit. Turn off our little induction burner. And before I start digging into this vegan lamb sacrifice, I am going to have to add a little bit more smoke. Oh, it looks like we got a Bible fire again. So let's just smoke our vegan loin a little bit. You know, it's good to get this nice holy Bible with helps, this is called. You just get a lot of that smoke right in there.
And
the next thing I'm going to do is just kind of stab it with my knife as such. Oh, fuck! That's a good fucking lamb, let me tell you. Hail Satan!
Oh my, oh yes, oh, that was just sacrilegious, wasn't it? Oh yes, beautiful, okay, in the name of the devil, the demons, the unholy spirit, spectacles, testicles, wallet, and watch, may the light of Lucifer be with you. Hail Satan, and hail yourself.
Oh. Oh, God. Oh. I was just cutting off a little piece of this, and I guess, hail fucking Satan.
Ute contrera vincula vestra, factum est. It is done. Hail Satan.
Happy Lupercalia, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you. A lot of things you don't know is that today is Lupercalia, not President's Day. Okay? That's right. So, to do what we do best is we're going to have a Lupercalia themed dinner. It's going to be partly vegetarian. You guys are going to love this. You guys know the history. It started about 44 BC, about, around the time of Julius Caesar, and all that stuff. And it was basically like Caligula. It was a festival of wolves and wearing wolves' loins and stuff like that. Papa Lucas was there, and they were having real lamb sacrifices. And people were fucking while they were sacrificing the lambs. It was great. But now we celebrate bodily autonomy and the fact that nobody can tell us what to fucking do with our lives or our bodies, and the fact that we are sexually liberated. So you know what? Hail Satan, mother. That's right. So, a couple things we're going to be cooking today. Roasted cauliflower and brown butter. We're going to cook a whole fucking cauliflower head. Alright? I wish this was brains because I could eat it. We're also going to have something called an herb lavne with some honey and brown butter too. So we're going to incorporate all that into one dish. Trust me, it's going to be super fucking awesome. We're going to make some whipped feta with some of these nice red peppers that I bought at the store because I'm lazy and I didn't have time to cook them. And we are also going to make a romesco sauce with these peppers. Now, a couple of things. How are you guys doing? Did you guys all have a very special Valentine's Day? I did. I got a piece of cake and a nice piece of milk bread from the wonderful Mary and the wonderful Ada and Mr. Jack. Thank you guys again. So, let's talk about feta cheese. Feta has been around since about 800 BC. It's true. 800 years before that dude supposedly, a fictional man that supposedly existed, that's portrayed in this book right here, that supposedly existed, and like Ted Cruz wandered around the earth without deodorant on. And it started around that time. So, like 800 years before this dude was even existed, feta cheese was around. Also, feta cheese was around way before, even a year before he was born, which is also a fun fact. Feta cheese, when it first hit, it originated, I think, off the coast of Greece. And when they would receive feta cheese, it would be cheese in ceramic jars that would be packed in tight. And back then, that's how they were preserving meat, they were preserving fish, they were preserving all sorts of dairy, because that's how they were able to survive the winters. So what they would do is, they would take their cheese that was packed in salt, they would take it out, they would air dry it for about like a month or two, and then it would turn hard, much like Pecorino Romano or Parmesan cheese. You ever had Parmesan cheese or Pecorino Romano, you know that it's super hard and you could literally kill somebody with it. I mean, it's cool to watch, but it wouldn't be cool to watch. Because then you'd be an accessory to a murder. And, I mean, it's fine. I mean, I don't know. If you're into that sort of stuff, go right ahead. I'm not saying I am. I'm not saying I tried to look up a video of somebody getting their head smashed block of Parmesan cheese, but you never know. You never know. So, it wasn't until much later in the 2nd century that cheese, feta cheese, was actually brined in salt water. And what that means is they would make the cheese from the natural rennet, which is the bacteria that brings it together, and they would turn it into a block just like this. They would use sheep's milk traditionally, and they would put that cheese in salt water, usually ocean or seawater, and they would keep that in there for about a couple weeks, and then they would have a cheese that was preserved but also soft enough to be able to be served. So feta has been around for ever, and it's good for you. There's different varieties of it. There's Armenian cheese, which is what this is right here. There's Greek, which is the most famous. There's even an Americanized version, which you can get from farmers. And there is a Bulgarian version and a French version. So, cauliflower it looks like a broccoli. It looks like a giant broccoli. And the Italians would call it, in their own words, cabbage flower, which is how they got the word cauliflower. And there are thousands of different varieties of cauliflower, but the most famous ones are technically the white, the yellow, the red, orange, green, purple. And usually the green ones are a romesco, sorry, not romanesco, which is what we're making. And they are basically shaped like a T. Cauliflower was originated off the island of Cyprus, which is in the Mediterranean, which is also where feta cheese actually comes from. So that's why you find a lot of cauliflower dishes on a lot of Mediterranean or Middle Eastern traditional menus. So Lebanese cheese, which is right here, this happens to be strained yogurt. So what that means is they literally take a fine mesh strainer, usually a cheesecloth, and they will take yogurt, traditionally a thick yogurt like a Greek yogurt, and it will strain out all the water that's still in it, but keeping still the probiotics that are inside the yogurt. Kefir is kind of like a cross between a mascarpone cheese and yogurt. So it's very similar to mascarpone cheese, but it's not. It's soft. It's also known as yogurt cheese, believe it or not, because of its thickness, which is really interesting to know. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to make roasted cauliflower. So, cleaning cauliflower is pretty easy. This is already cleaned. Usually it has a lot of flour going around it. So what I like to do when I roast cauliflower is I like to take the stem off. And that will remove most of the outer parts. I'm going to add a little bit of vegetable oil to my pan. And I'm going to season my pan with salt. That should take just about a second to come up. Now we've all been to restaurants and we've seen things on the menus recently, like cauliflower steak and stuff. This is an actually really interesting way to cook it. And I learned this from a chef in Boston called Alex Sines. He owns a restaurant in Cambridge called Best. So he taught me this a long time ago when we were working together. I have since incorporated it into my technique. So I did not know how to cook whole cauliflower until I met him. So what we would do is we would take cauliflower, we'd rub it, and then we'd put it into a giant pan, and we'd let the flame do its job, and we'd turn it around. So I'm putting garlic cloves in there that are already inside, so they don't burn. And I've already put some rosemary in there. And what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to season the top with some salt. I'm sure you guys remember my chilies from yesterday, the Urfa chilies. Definitely going to hit the top with a little bit of Urfa chili, as well as some butter. I'm going to let that butter turn brown. And I'm just going to keep turning it so I don't burn the bottom. And what I like to do is I like to take the butter and baste the top. Now you could also use a vegan butter for this. This is what I recommend if you are vegan, of course. Thank you, Katie. Add a little bit more butter. Sky with butter. Butter is your friend. Now that the butter is turning brown, you can baste your cauliflower and put it into an oven that's about 400 degrees. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. It's almost my birthday at midnight, and I'm still 40. I'm not 41 yet. So while that cooks, we're going to set a timer for about 15 to 20 minutes. I'm sure you guys remember my blender from yesterday. This thing has become one of my best friends during the pandemic, besides Jack. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to make our Romanesco sauce. Romanesco sauce is technically a sauce that's made from almonds, cooked red peppers, tomato, and a bunch of other spices that we have in front of us, like smoked paprika, marsh pepper. We're also going to put into it some olive oil and some sherry vinegar. Now, traditionally, I would serve Tabasco sauce as a mise, which is what you usually get when you have like stuffed grape leaves or hummus. So that's basically what I like to do it with. But I also like to eat it with things like potatoes. It's good on anything. So I'm going to take a couple of these red peppers. Just take a couple out. You don't need that many. Just about one. We're not making a giant batch. Just enough for Jack and I. Even though he can't eat peppers, he's not going to touch this. You would ever think that a Bible could put out a fire? It actually just did. I could be a lot older than I was. So I'm going to add just a little bit of garlic confit to this. Garlic confit is garlic that's been brought up in oil, and it's been poached till it becomes super, 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 super soft. And that is technically what this is. It's the best stuff to make if you want to have garlic toast all the time. So I'm going to take some of this puree that I made. It's half tomato and it's also half harissa, which is it's a North African spice, and that has some peppers in it. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that. I did not know. So now that I pureed up my peppers, I'm going to add the next ingredient, almonds. So these are sliced almonds that have been toasted. And I'm going to add a little bit of smoked paprika, not too much. That's enough. Just going to puree that up. If I want it thicker, I'll add more almonds. So I might want to do that. It's starting to come together, which is good. You want it kind of pasty. And that is how you make a simple romesco sauce. Look at that. Just needs a little bit of sherry vinegar. We're done. All right, my friends. I'm going to take out the blade. And we're going to reuse all of this anyways. The reason why I'm making this first is because when you put cheese into something, it's a pain to clean. And this will just get rinsed out. So I'm just going to add this to a bowl. I like mine kind of broken, so. I like to hit it with some olive oil at the end and add some herbs. So I still have the salsa verde that I made the other day. It's still very green. Romanesco sauce. Mix it together. And you could serve this with anything. I would suggest even dipping potatoes into this. It's so good. Perfect. So now we're going to make our feta, or whipped feta that is. So what I like to do is, of course, put the blade back in. That helps. I like to crumble it up before I put it in. Crumble up my feta. And what I also like to do is put a little bit of lemon in there. You can do this all at once. It's not going to make a difference. My red pepper in. Oh, hi, Jack. Good to see you, buddy. Jack, you're a celebrity. You're famous. There you are. And that's it. That's it. That's how you do it. Super easy. Now, a lot of the time, what I also like to do is add a little bit of Mars pepper to it. And that will give it a nice little texture. Baby, what are you doing? Yeah, don't eat Bible. No, no, no. And that's it. That's exactly it. This stuff is great as a spread. You can keep it in the fridge. It will stay for weeks. baby. Wipe it down. Next up, we're going to make our brown butter lobster. So this dish has all the flavors of Lupercalia in it. Honey, milk, and love. Checking our cauliflower. Let's try and clear the board before I get to the next project. Making brown butter is always a challenge for a lot of people. The reason why is because you can either burn it or you can turn it black. So there's different variations of making like butter. You can just keep it as is. You can separate the dairy and make it clarified, or you can keep going and you can brown it. So the next stage is obviously blackening the butter, which is what a lot of Creole recipes call for. They'll make a blackened roux, which is actually hit with a ton of like peppers and stuff like that, so it evens out the flavor and makes it very umami tasting, the sweet, salty, sour, bitter kind of taste that people are looking for. So I'm melting my butter. This butter happens to be imported from Ireland. For butter, I forget. That's about right, 666. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to bring it to a broil. Now I've seen people make brown butter in the oven, and browning butter, you can either get it done right or you can turn it completely black, like I said. So just gonna keep keeping an eye on it. And so butter is made mostly of churned cream, and it's been folded together so it's not broken. It's basically an emulsion, which is bringing fat and solids together. So that's what's happening right now. Is the dairy is starting to bubble up. So it's separating right now, and it is turning slightly brown, but it's not there yet. There we go. Let me get a flashlight to show you. So you can totally see that the butter, the milk solids have turned brown. And that's what's going on here. If we were to keep going, the butter would be turning either black or that. So if we were going to clarify this butter, which is what you get when you get a lobster in New England, they also call it drawn butter. You would cook this at a lower temp, so it doesn't brown. And if you're going to do something like that, you can also make hollandaise sauce. And what I like to tell people, and I've experimented with this before, where I've made hollandaise sauce from some of the vegan butter, and it turns out almost just as good. So while I cool this down, butter, believe it. You could also slather it on yourself into jumping on the bed, which I've done before, but that's a different story. And I don't want to give anybody any visuals, but it was a lot of fun. We've all done stupid shit before. Speaking of jumping on the bed, one time when I was a kid living in California, I took mushrooms, and a bunch of my friends were coming back to my room when I lived in a hotel in the Tenderloin in San Francisco, the most dangerous and evilest part of San Francisco, where like Richard Ramirez would live, would hang out and stuff. It was super creepy. But my friends left, and I heard a knock at the door, and I was jumping up and down on the bed, and I tried to fly towards the door, but I hit my hand on the ground, and I broke my wrist, and I just kept drinking until the morning. Idiot. I'm going to put a little bit of Urfa chilies on this. So I've got my rosemary in there, and I will loosen it up because it's still kind of stiff. So let's take a whisk and just whip it together. Now, technically, I would use a thick tooth whisk, but this is all I have, and it's actually not that bad. So I'm just going to keep going. So what we want to do is look for that consistency where we smooth it out. And then we add our honey. So by doing that, I'm whipping air into it. Just like whipped cream. Hello, little boy. Hello. Want a treat? Good boy. He's gonna go have his treat. So I'm whipping this together, trying to build some air into this. And I'm going to hit it with a little bit of sauce. So now comes the tricky part. Don't try this at home unless you have practice. And when you go to whip something, whether you're making like chocolate, like you have a double broiler, like that's hot, that's chocolate, you're trying to melt it, put a towel underneath. Especially if you have to use two hands. So, I happen to be left-handed, which means I'm a freak. And I'm just going to slowly pour my brown butter in there. And if you're not careful, the butter will clump up. I didn't know that, Summer. So we're looking for the flavor of the butter in with the labneh. But we also don't want giant chunks, so you just keep whisking this. Jack, go in the other room. Stop eating Bible. No, Jack, don't eat the Bible. No, no, no. Honey. Baby. It's not really eating Bible. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Go find it. He's such a silly boy. I'm going to put that over here for now. But that's what we're looking for in consistency. You're definitely going to get some umami flavors out of it. And I'm not adding crazy seasoning to this, like dried herbs. I'm just serving it as is, because that's the way it should be served. You should be able to taste the natural flavors of things. Let's check on cauliflower. Good. Perfect. So I flipped it over in the oven. And now we have somebody else in the kitchen. A Jack. So here's our cauliflower. What I like to do is add more butter to it, believe it or not. So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking the butter that's already in there, that's turned completely brown, and I'm lightening it up, and I'm adding more dairy to it. This cauliflower's been in there for about 20 minutes, which is good. Maybe 30, maybe 40, I don't know. While I melt my butter down, I like to put, you guys see that all right? So I like to put my meat into one section, and I like to watch my butter boil up. So I'll do this with fish, or I'll do this with a steak if I'm cooking it in the oven. So what I'll do is I'll just turn the pan towards myself, and using my spoon, ladle the top. And what that does is you're doing something that's very similar to wok frying, but you're pan frying. So you're taking the fat and you're just basting the top. And that creates more of a delicious heart attack waiting to happen. But keep in mind, this is 100% vegetarian. And we could actually do this with earth salads if we wanted to. And you're probably noticing that a lot of this butter is disappearing. It's getting sucked up into this cauliflower right now, this is why this is my favorite part. It's because it's becoming a sponge and it's sucking up all that good flavor. So it's literally a heart attack waiting to happen. And this meal is essentially, oh, that's so fucking good. This is rather easy and affordable to make. This cost me about $5 for a cauliflower. The butter costs about $3.50. So that's a meal. The labneh costs about $4 at the store. Honey ad sitting around. Butter, I just used half of this. So this is a giant feast for under $20. And as you can see, the garlic is not burned. It's still in the bulb. The bulb is still inside the skin, which is good. And we're about to, so I'm just going to turn that off. And that's how you cook a whole cauliflower in less than 30 minutes, which is the way to go. Normally that, if you were to roast that whole thing in the oven, it would take you over an hour or more to get that color. But since we're doing this technique where we're taking the pan and we're pulling it towards ourselves and we're basting it, it's actually helping the process. You can get these recipes in the TST newsletter. You can also get these recipes in the cookbook once it comes out this spring. And the name of my cookbook is going to be called Black Arches, a Satanic Cookbook, like the anti-fast food McDonald's. And the person that did the photography is Courtney Brook. And I'll be posting photography photos online in the next day or so. You can also follow Courtney online on Instagram at Lightwitch. And I think her page is lightwitch.com. I also don't need to be holding this. So I'm going to take some of my labneh and I'm going to cover the bottom of this plate. Take my whole cauliflower head, put that right in the middle. Take some of my cloves and put them around. And top it with some more of this brown butter stuff. Just letting it all soak right up into that, like a heart attack waiting to happen. Lastly, I'll top it off with a little bit of salsa verde. Just right on. some romesco sauce, which we can use as a condiment for when we cut this. I also have my whipped feta, which I made way too much of. Give it to one side. Here's some of that really good pita. That is topped up with just a little bit of olive oil. That's a simple vegetarian, vegan, and vegetarian meal that you guys can all eat at home. We have a speaker happening right now. Thomas is also going to be talking at 10 o'clock. Mercy's going to be DJing later. But before we leave, Jack, should we light another Bible fire? Okay, well, maybe we should go in the other room. This Bible actually has really cool photos in it. Like this illustration of Christ walking in the sea, or whatever this is. Hail Satan, guys. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys again in April. Until then, I love you.
Salve ultra peccatorum, Satanica sacra tenebris. Demonically beloved, we are gathered here today in the spirit of